the Gestalt Psychology Module 9. Introduction. Gestalt psychology was at the forefront of cognitive psychology. It served as the foundation of the cognitive perspective to learning. It opposed the external and mechanistic focus of behaviorism. It considered the mental processes and products of perception. So, in short, it uses our brain. It focuses on perceiving things and on our cognitive. So, these are the Gestalt Psychology Advanced Organizer. At the top, it is the Gestalt psychologies, and there is the three branches: Gestalt principles, insight learning, life space, Lewin. Below the Gestalt principles, it has law of proximity, law of closure, law of good continuation, law of good pregnance, law of figure and ground. And then, below the life space, Lewin, inner forces and outer forces. For example, this photo shown below. Is there the possibility of you and me together? If you focus on the background, you can see you. But if you focus on the object, you can see me, perceiving images into figure or object and ground or background. Gestalt theory was initial to cognitive response to behaviorism. It emphasizes the importance of sensory, wholes, and the dynamic nature of visual perception. The term Gestalt means form or configuration. In short, Gestalt theory was the cognitive reaction to behaviorism. The photo below were Max Wertheimer, Wolfgang Kohler, and Kurt Kafka. So, they studied perceptions and conclude perceivers or learners are not passive rather than active. They suggested that learners do not collect information as is, but they actively process and structure data in order to understand it. Gestalt principle: law of proximity, law of similarity, law of closure, law of good continuation, law of good pregnance, and law of figure and ground. So, law of proximity: when objects we are perceiving are near each other, we perceive them as belonging together. Elements that are closer together will be perceived as coherent object. Next is the law of similarity. Elements that look similar will be perceived as part of the same form. Next, law of closure. We tend to fill the gaps or close the figures we perceive. We enclose a space by completing a contour and ignoring gaps in the figure. Next is the law of good continuation. Individuals have the tendency to continue contours whenever the elements of the pattern establish an implied direction. People tend to draw a good continuous line. Next is the law of good pregnance. The stimulus will be organized into as good a figure as possible. Last is the law of figure and ground. We tend to pay attention and perceive things in the foreground. A stimulus will be perceived as separate from its ground. Insight learning. Gestalt psychology adheres to the idea of learning taking place by discovery or insight. The idea of insight learning was first developed by Wolfgang Kohler, which he described experiments with apes where the apes could use boxes and sticks as tools to solve problems. Gestalt principles and teaching learning process. The 6 Gestalt principles not only influence perception but they also impact on learning. Other psychologists like Kurt Lewin expanded on Gestalt psychology. His theory, focusing on life space, adhered to Gestalt psychology. He said that an individual has inner and outer forces that affect his perception and also his learnings. Inner forces includes his own motivations, attitudes, and feelings. Outer forces may include the attitude and behavior of teachers and classmates. All these forces interact and impact on the person's learning. Mario Polito, an Italian psychologist, writes about the relevance of Gestalt psychology to education. So, Kurt Lewin stated that an individual perceptions and learning are influenced by both internal and external causes. His motivations, attitude, and sentiments are examples of inner forces. The attitude and behavior of the teacher and students are examples of external forces. So that's all for Gestalt psychology. Thank you for listening.